Welcome back. Today we are talking about standing out from your competition, how to be different in the eyes of your customers and your clients. There's a few different ways that you can do this, right? You can go based off of price, you can go based off of the customer experience, you can go based off of your offerings, a few different ways here. I want to start with price, because I think this is where a lot of people get themselves in the most trouble. If you think about how people are differentiating based off of price, you go the least expensive route. You think of the dollar stores, and their entire goal is to be the cheapest or the most accessible. And that's fine, right? You know who they are, you know that you're going there for a specific reason. Great brand identity. Then you go the complete other end of the spectrum. You think of the Ritz-Carltons of the world, and price becomes irrelevant because of how well they're doing the other things, how well they're doing the experience, how well they're doing their offerings. And so you go to that extreme, and now they're the most valuable because, yeah, maybe the price is high, but you're not even thinking about the price when you're going to them because you're considering the experience and things like that. With Destination Wealth, with my company, we are so commoditized, meaning you try and buy Apple stock, you get that stock through me or an advisor down the road or going online by yourself, you're getting the same exact stock. And so this whole differentiation conversation is extremely important. There's so much overlap in services and products with many different companies out there that if you're not figuring out how you're differentiating, you're really gonna get yourself in trouble. On the price point, if you don't figure out how you're gonna differentiate yourself, you end up doing what most people do, and they get themselves caught in this, and they put themselves right in the middle or slightly below, right? It's like, I wanna be a little bit less expensive than my competitor down the road. You just end up getting jumbled into this lump of competition right in the middle. So now you're stuck. They're gonna choose you or the other person based off of who comes up on Google first, probably. And so if you're not going to one extreme or the other when it comes to price, meaning, hey, we're gonna be the most accessible or the cheapest, or we're gonna be the most valuable, which means we need to focus on the things like the service. You're not doing one of those two, you're getting yourself in trouble when it comes to pricing. Next, and this is where we really stand out, is on what you're actually offering people. The wealth management space, financial advising space, everybody is gonna do two things. Everybody is going to manage your assets, right? Investment management, portfolio management, and everybody is gonna be able to put together some sort of basic financial plan. And if you look at every wirehouse and you look at most independent wealth management firms, that's what they're doing. And it's all the same. If you look at performance returns and things like that, just general stock market to professionals that are managing money to financial advisors out there, there's very little difference, right? It's, again, it goes back to it is commoditized. You're getting basically the same thing everywhere. So if that's all we were doing at Destination, we'd be getting ourselves in a lot of trouble because people would be willing to leave us for the person down the road that's a little bit less expensive or the person down the road that's offering something else. So what we have instead is we have a suite of services. We do things very differently on that part, and then the pricing, which I'll get into also. What we're doing is we're positioning ourselves to be the general contractor for our clients. So think of if you're a general contractor and you're building a house, you have to connect all of the subcontractors. Financial advising, wealth management, the client has to be the general contractor. They're connecting their advisor with their CPA, with their estate attorney, with their insurance guy. They have all this pressure on them. What we're trying to do is we're being the expert in every lane, or we're providing an expert in every lane, and we are serving as the general contractor. We're connecting the experts in. So we have a portfolio management department that all they do all day, every day is research and manage our clients' money. Then we have a partnership with a CPA firm, and all they're doing all day, every day is tax strategy type work. Then we have a partnership with an insurance company, and all they're doing all day is insurance products and understanding the ins and outs of different products and what are the best insurance strategies. And then same thing with a state attorney, and that goes on and on. Now, our clients, when they're coming to us, they're not just getting the standard portfolio management and financial plan that they're getting everywhere else. Every time they sit down for a different conversation, one of our advisors is also pulling in the expert that's needed for that conversation. So we're selling time, right? We're taking time and stress off of our client. That's a big differentiator that we're doing of how we set ourselves apart. And then you go into the pricing side of it. It used to be, and the same thing, I'll just keep using my industry as the example, but you're gonna be able to apply it to your own industry because you're gonna know the ins and outs of what's offered and pricing and things like that. Typically used to be You would sell a product to somebody, right? I'm gonna sell you Apple stock and I'm gonna collect a commission. Well, that's gone away, and now people are starting to charge an asset under management percentage. That has its merits as well, but then there's other people that are charging a flat fee. What we found is if we're charging off of assets under management, then the entire focus is on the investment. But we want the entire focus to be on what are we doing comprehensively to be this integrated, holistic experience. But if we're only charging based off of one thing, that's what our clients are going to be concerned about. We want them concerned about the whole spectrum, their financial plan, their cash flow analysis, what does setting up legacy type stuff do for their family, what does succession or exit plan look like for their company. We do a blend of both. We do a smaller percentage of assets under management charge, and we do a planning fee or a retainer type fee. And so what we're doing is we're using pricing to focus our clients on what we're truly doing for them. And so I tell you to do the same type thing in whatever your business and your industry is. If your pricing is not focusing your clients or your customers on where you want them to be focusing, you're doing it wrong. You're just following blindly of what your industry does. Even if that doesn't necessarily fit your model, you're setting yourself up for failure. I would say when you're thinking about how to differentiate when it comes to these things, and then there's a couple others, but when it comes to these things, pricing, make sure you're either the most accessible or you're the most valuable. Don't get yourself caught in the middle. When it comes to offering, make sure you're offering things that your industry is not typically offering. You become this experience and you're solving a problem for them. Just like for us, the problem we're solving, sure, is all the plans and investments and stuff, but really what it is it's time and it's stress. We're solving time and stress for our clients, then we are going to do better and we're gonna beat the competitor down the road that may be a little bit cheaper but doesn't do nearly what we do for our client. I wanna pivot a little bit and I wanna go into what is your customer or client experience. And that's the next iteration, I'd say, as far as how do you differentiate. And same thing, if you're going to be the least expensive, you're probably not focusing a ton on what the experience is. So that's why I said this is the next iteration, because you've got to focus on pricing and offerings first. And then that will then lead you to what are you doing from an actual experience standpoint. And again, let's use Ritz-Carlton as the example. Ritz-Carlton is so focused on creating the greatest experience for their guests. Every employee in Ritz-Carlton has a certain budget. I think it's like $1,000 or something like that per person. They can spend without asking any manager's permission for. And a great story, great example, I don't remember which book or podcast I heard it from. There was a cleaning lady that was in the halls and a guy came out of his room, saw her, complained and said, "Hey, our TV's not working. Can you have somebody come up and get it?" And what she did is, yes, she called maintenance to go up and get that swapped out, but she took the entire family down to the restaurant in the hotel. She got them free breakfast while that was going on. And then by the time the family ate their free breakfast and went back up to their room, there was a TV that was replaced. And she didn't have to ask anybody's permission. Whatever the cost of the breakfast was completely irrelevant, because their North Star is creating the greatest experience for their guests. And that's the extreme of what experience can look like. And so you then have to decide in your own business, in your own world, what is that gonna look like? I'll give you one more example, and this is gonna be a good practice for you to go through. More like a mental practice. Airbnb does something called the 7-star experience. Very early on, when they were trying to shape what does being a client or customer of Airbnb mean, they said, okay, what's a 1-star experience, right? What's just a horrible experience that you could have? And then they would go up to 2-star and 3-star. So maybe 1-star is you get to the place, it's completely locked, finally somebody opens the door and they're already staying there, which means it got double booked and now you're screwed and you've got to go find a hotel, right? So that's just terrible experience. 4-star experience is going to be you're just checking all the boxes. You get there, the key's there right away, or the code is there and it works. You get in, it's clean, everything's kind of fine. When you start getting above 5 stars, things start to get a little crazy. Maybe a 6-star experience or 7-star experience is a car is picking you up from the airport and they're driving you to your Airbnb. And when you get there, the fridge is completely stocked with some of your favorite things. And there's a surfboard there that says, hey, take this time on us and go enjoy yourself at the beach. Something like that. You keep going and you get to a 10-star experience or a 12-star experience, and that's gonna be Elon Musk flies you out on his private jet straight to one of the SpaceX rockets and takes you up to outer space, right? Just a completely obnoxious experience, which is obviously not Airbnb. You get that far out, now all of a sudden you go back to a 7-star experience and it seems a lot more reasonable. But if you're just thinking, how do I check the box, and you live in that 4 or 5-star experience, you're not pushing the envelope enough to get creative and do things that truly differentiate yourself. So try and go through that practice. What does a 1-star experience look like? What does a 4 or 5-star experience look like? And then keep going up to 10, 11, 12 stars until you're so outrageous that it's comical, and then back off a little bit. Get back to that 6, 7, 8-star experience. And that's where you're gonna wanna live all day, every day, because that is gonna be stuff that you're doing that none of your competitors are doing. The next piece that I'm gonna say is your personnel. And we're gonna have another video that talks about how to hire, how to build teams, how to surround yourself with the right people. You need to know the pricing, the offerings, and the experience, and then you need to get the right people in the business to execute those things. If you're trying to be the most accessible or the least expensive, and then you're trying to also bring in the people that are going to create this Ritz-Carlton experience, things aren't lining up, right? The budget's not gonna be there to hire those type of people. Vice versa, you try to create the Ritz-Carlton experience, but you're hiring the people that should be working at a Dollar Tree. Same thing, you're just not putting the right people in place to actually execute. Again, we're gonna have a much longer video on hiring and team building and all that, but I wanted to throw that out there on here of, if you're truly gonna be able to differentiate, you've gotta make sure you have the right people that are going to be able to execute the vision and the plan to allow you to be truly different from your competitors. That would be my takeaway. Make sure that you're going through some of those practices, you're going in that order, and then you're designing a business and an experience that is going to differentiate you from your competition. If you're watching this video and it's getting your mind going, but there's still questions that you have, big part of the reason that I want to be doing this is I want to be a resource for you and I want to help you. So don't hesitate to come over and reach out to me. Shoot me a message on Instagram. It's probably the easiest way. My handle is Ben McDonald NC. You and I can go back and forth. We could hop on a call. We could message back and forth on there, whatever you want to do. I just want to be a resource. So if this video is getting you thinking, but there's still hurdles that you can't quite break or you can't get over, you quite can't break through, I'd love to have a conversation.